checkers with a good piece of this flop.
Vanessa bets 30,000. Huck calls.
He's controlling the size of these pots by check calling, allowing Vanessa to take the lead.
3 of spades on the turn. Check from seed. Vanessa bets 50,000. Huck calls again.
Apparently he doesn't believe that she's got top pair or middle pair with a better kicker.
Deuce of diamonds on the river. Both players check, and Vanessa takes it.
Nice hand.
After Huck hit the 9 against her when she tried to call him down with ace high. But since then, she's bounced back. She's held it together.
With Jack 9, she raises to 40,000. 5 deuce for Huck.
Shut down. An ally has been slain. Double kill. Shut down. An enemy has been slain. An ally has been slain. Ally has been slain. Double kill. Shut down. An enemy has been slain. An ally has been slain. Ally has been slain. Double kill. Shut down. An enemy has shut down. Shut down. turret.
A trip to the casino can be absolutely thrilling. You get to play fast-paced and exciting games while a waitress brings you free drinks. It's easy to get so caught up that you don't realize how much money you're spending until it's too late. You may think that gambling is just a game of chance, but you might be surprised at how the deck is stacked against you. We'll let you in on some secrets that casino employees would never tell you. If you don't want to gamble on your next YouTube video selection, make sure you turn on notifications for the richest and subscribe to our channel if you haven't yet. Counting cards. As opposed to just pumping credits into the slot machines, card games like blackjack makes players feel like they have more control over their ability to win. However, casinos have a way of shutting you down if they suspect you're too good. Counting cards is not illegal, it's merely a method in which you keep track of the cards dealt and use this information to predict what the dealer will draw next. And people can use this strategy to win big, but not if the casinos catch you doing it. If the casino employees observe you winning a bit too often at card games, they can actually kick you out and ban you from returning. Kicking a card player out for knowing the odds too well is kind of like refusing to play Scrabble with someone because they read too much. Sometimes they'll try to be subtle and send an employee to talk to you while you're playing, hoping they'll be able to break your concentration. If that doesn't work, they'll often escalate their efforts until they finally ask you to leave. If you plan on just playing elsewhere, you should know that casinos have been known to give other casinos a heads up that you're coming, so they can ban you before you even get to play there. You're being watched. Now, since casinos deal with millions of dollars per year, it's not surprising that they have security. You've probably seen some surveillance cameras and noticed security guards walking around the last time you were at a casino, but most people have no idea the true extent that they're monitored from the second they walk in the door. Those video cameras you spotted, most likely equipped with facial recognition software. If you've gotten yourself banned from a casino and decide to try sneaking back in with a novelty pair of eyeglasses with a nose attached, think again. The software will detect you and allow security to your presence. Other forms of software analyze your playing style and use a complex algorithm to calculate your worth to the casino in both the short and long term. This allows them to not only find potential criminals but adapt their marketing techniques to suit honest players. Casinos utilize cutting-edge security and are the first to know about new technological advancements. Many use non-obvious relationship awareness software, otherwise known as NORA, which allows casinos to determine if players and dealers have ever shared a phone number, address, or a room at the casino hotel. This can give clues to possible collusion between employees and guests. Your information isn't safe. Okay, so the casino is monitoring your every move from the second you step inside its doors. So what? You're just there to play a few games, maybe have a couple drinks, and you don't plan on cheating or doing anything illegal. Well, unfortunately, you don't have any control over what the casino does with all the information its computer programs are collecting from you. It turns out that casinos often share information with each other. This means if you decide to mix things up and visit a different one, they likely already know all about you and your gambling habits. That player's card that you signed up for in exchange for some credits or a free t-shirt, that likely has your home address, phone number, email address, and more, which means the casino has access to all that information. This naturally makes casinos huge targets for people seeking to breach their database, and while they try their best to protect your information, it's not always enough. In both 2015 and 2016, the Hard Rock Hotel and Casino in Las Vegas suffered massive data breaches from malware that had been connected to their card processing system. Blackjack. Blackjack is a massively popular game at casinos, and even if you can't count cards, it may seem like you have a decent chance of winning big. You get 2 cards to start with, and you try to get as close to 21 as possible without going over. But the casinos do everything in their power to make sure that they maintain their advantage over you. One move is by letting the dealer hit a soft 17. This means that the dealer's hand includes an ace that can be used as an 11 or a 1. If the dealer is allowed to hit on a soft 17, this means that on average they have a 0.2% greater chance of winning. This may seem like such a small percentage, but it adds up to millions of dollars in the long run. Taking insurance at the blackjack table is another bad move that adds 7% to the house odds. If you draw 2 10s, you have the option of splitting your cards into 2 separate bets, each starting with a 10. But keeping those 10s together for a total of 20 is really the best move and increases your chances of winning. Don't let the casino divide and conquer your cards. Your fellow patrons. By now, you might be disgusted with the things that the casino does without you knowing. But wait until you hear what your fellow casino goers are up to when you're not looking. While you might want to win big at the casino, the house loves people who lose big. These whales, as they're known, are people who spend massive amounts of money, and this entitles them to more than a few perks, if you want to call them that. At the Mohegan Sun Casino in Uncasville, Connecticut, whales have been known to make insane demands, like one player who requested a fridge full of bananas that he fidgets with as he gambles, or another player who repeatedly urinated on the wall. Former employees have testified that these behaviors are tolerated because of the money these people pour into the casino. Oh, and big spenders aren't the only people who don't want to use the restrooms. Some casinos have separate cleaning crews because so many of their guests would rather go in their pants when nature calls instead of getting up to use the restrooms. Just think about that the next time you're sitting on a seat at the casino. Don't worry, we won't make you bet on our trivia question. In 2016, how much money did United States casinos pocket from gamblers? Keep watching for the answer. Chips. Have you ever stopped to wonder why casinos use chips at their tables instead of cash? You use your cash to buy chips, and then when you're done playing, you have to go up to the counter and change your chips back into cash. Kinda feels like an unnecessary step, but it's a very deliberate move on the part of the casino. You see, the chips add a level of mental separation to the gambling process. Instead of counting out $50 for a bet and feeling the money leave your hand, you just grab a chip and toss it onto the table. It's like how when you pay cash for things, it feels like you're spending more than if you just use a credit card. A big bet can look like a stack of cash, but a few chips makes it seem like you're not spending as much. Some casinos also place RFID chips inside one of their larger denomination chips. This makes it easy to track them and detect any fraudulent chips. Any chips that are stolen can then be deactivated. Although the technology isn't quite there yet, it's thought that eventually the RFID chips could be used to further track your gaming habits while you play. The playground. In addition to security and gaming technology advancing in recent years, the layout of casinos is undergoing a major overhaul. Outdated casinos were designed using a layout known as the maze layout. It was believed that if you created a casino with no clocks, no natural light, very few doors, and machines arranged in a curved arc, it would make it difficult for customers to navigate. Because they'd be trapped for longer at the casino, they'd be more likely to spend more money. It's a good idea in theory and was the standard design until casino designer Roger Thomas created a whole new look for the Wynn Resorts Las Vegas casino. He not only added clocks but brought in natural lights, incorporating skylights into the design. The low ceilings of the past were raised and the confusing layout became easier to navigate and lovelier to look at. Rather than trapping people inside a maze, this new model is referred to as the playground layout and strives to be as inviting as possible. In studies, players visiting a casino with this type of layout actually end up spending more money and report feeling relaxed and comfortable. Safety concerns. Casinos bring in revenue and create jobs, but what the casinos try to keep quiet is that they also bring many undesirable things as well. In 2005, a study was conducted in Maryland by William Evans and Julie Tobolewski. While they found that the local casinos did create a significant number of jobs, a 5% increase total, there were many negative side effects. Auto theft, larceny, and bankruptcy all increased by 10% in communities in which gambling was permitted. In a separate study conducted across the United States, it was found that in countries with casinos, 8% of the crimes committed were directly attributable to the presence of the casino. And as far as being a good source of tax revenue, that's not entirely accurate. When a casino is put in, it takes business away from local bars and restaurants, and by doing this, it actually decreases the amount of tax revenue the state receives. And after an initial hiring boom, many casinos replaced tons of their tables with machines, eliminating many positions. Slot machine odds. Slot machines are pretty straightforward. You put some credits in, you pull a lever or hit a button, and then you see if you win. If a machine has 3 reels with 20 symbols each, one of which is the jackpot symbol, it's reasonable to assume that your odds of winning big at that machine are 1 in 8,000. That may be the case with older mechanical machines, but with computerized slot machines, the odds are much lower. Inside the slot machine, the computer generates random numbers, only stopping when a player pushes the button. The slot machine is programmed for far more stops than the 20 visible on the reel, and in the example we mentioned, you could expect something like 256 stops per reel. The way that it's programmed, you're most likely to hit a blank or low winning symbol at the same time you hit a jackpot, giving you the illusion that you are close to hitting it. In addition, the reels themselves are weighted, making it much more likely that the jackpot symbol will appear on the first and second reels than on the third. This is to make you feel like you were just oh so close to winning big and encouraging you to keep playing. Your odds can change. Okay, so the odds aren't as good as you thought, but at least now you're more aware of them. Well, for now. You see, back in the old days, you would have to take a slot machine apart or readjust its programming in order to change the odds. However, that is no longer an issue for many places. Remember when we said that casinos are monitoring your every move? If you're winning too much money on the slots, the casino can change the odds of your game and make it nearly impossible for you to win. The Aria Resort and Casino in Las Vegas was the first casino to introduce this style of machine, but it's far from the last. The slot machines run off a computer, which an employee can make adjustments to without alerting anyone that something on the machine is changing. With the press of a button, your odds, limits, and even available games can all change. And even more unsettling is that these machines don't look any different than regular slot machines, so it's hard to tell if the machine is server-based or not. Talk about a massive win! In 2016, U.S. casinos took in $450 billion, and it's estimated that the 2017 figure will be even bigger. Not that we want to place a bet on that. Hopefully the next time you head over to the casino, you'll keep these facts in mind before you throw down your chips. When it comes to making a profit, these casinos will do anything in order to hedge their bets. But that's the nature of the beast. One bet that will definitely pay off is subscribing to The Riches for more of our videos. And don't forget to join our notification squad so you're the first to know when we post a new video. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.
Ten dark secrets brands don't want you to know. 10. DuPont. In 1951, DuPont, an industrial chemical company, purchased a little-known compound called perfluorooctanoic acid, or PFOA. At this point, DuPont was producing around 900 tons of Teflon, the non-stick coating, every year. Their new acquisition of PFOA helped improve the manufacturing process, which meant more Teflon and more money. The only problem is that PFOA is a horribly toxic chemical that causes cancer in animals and does not break down in the environment. DuPont agreed to phase it out by 2015 when asked by the Environmental Protection Agency. This came on the back of the EPA fining DuPont $16.5 million for concealing information about health effects. One citation came in 1981 when DuPont found that pregnant members of staff were having babies with birth defects, such as facial deformities. DuPont also realized in 1991 that it had contaminated the water supply of 12,000 people. In 2015, DuPont lost a case to a woman who claimed they had caused her kidney cancer. PFOA is now detectable in 98% of the US population and has been found everywhere, from household dust to popcorn. There are currently 3,400 cases awaiting court. 9. IBM. IBM's role in the Holocaust and its 12-year collaboration with Hitler's Third Reich remained unknown until a 2001 book published by historian Edwin Black. While we know that everything from Fanta to Volkswagen was invented in Nazi Germany, IBM, an American company, sank to even darker depths. The IBM Hollerith machine, which tabulated punch cards, turned out to be central to the systematic killing of Jews in Europe. The machines tracked census information to identify the locations of populations across Europe. Then, when captured, they were used to track movements on trains to and from ghettos and concentration camps. The number tattooed onto Auschwitz prisoners was their IBM punch card identification. The CEO of IBM at the time met with Hitler, and the vast process could not have been maintained without support from the American offices. 2 class action lawsuits were brought against IBM by Holocaust survivors in the early noughties, but both were dropped due to legal technicalities. 8. Kids Wish Network. Labelled America's worst charity by the Center for Investigative Reporting, the Kids Wish Network seems to be less about helping and more about hoarding. Out of the $141 million they had raised, just $3.5 million went to making children's dreams come true, less than 2.5%. So where did this money go? Well, $116 million was spent on fundraising solicitors, which are run as for-profit corporations. Money also went to the founder and president, a salary of $130,000 a year, and $4.8 million to companies he controlled. They also avoided telling the IRS about financial transactions made to associates of the charity. The Kids Wish Network was founded in Florida in 1997 and originally called the Fulfill a Wish Foundation, which sounds an awful lot like the Make-A-Wish Foundation. They thought so too, and didn't want to be associated with this venture, so sued Fulfill a Wish to make them change their name. 7. Bayer. Bayer, the German pharmaceutical giant, has been behind a number of world-changing drugs: aspirin, heroin, antibiotics, and birth control. But as we'll see, it hasn't just been curing diseases, it's also knowingly caused them. In the 1980s, they had developed drugs to help blood clotting in haemophiliacs. The medicine involved an injection, with concentrate made from donated pools of blood plasma. The catch was that the blood had been taken prior to HIV testing. Over 8,000 haemophiliacs developed AIDS in the USA as a result. In response, Bayer developed a safer medicine in 1984, but continued to knowingly sell the old medicine overseas, making millions, in order to get rid of their large stock. Over 100 people were infected in Hong Kong and Taiwan, and the drug was also sold in Malaysia, Singapore, Indonesia, Japan, and Argentina. In 1997, Bayer paid out $660 million in order to settle cases with over 6,000 people. 6. ExxonMobil. People like oil companies even less than Big Pharma, so it's no surprise they're on this list. But just how bad can they get? Well, how about detention, torture, and killings? By running a natural gas extraction facility in Aceh, Indonesia, ExxonMobil put themselves in the middle of a conflict between the local Acehnese wish for independence and the militaristic government. But of course, ExxonMobil were on the government's side. In 1998, they were accused of supplying bulldozers and machinery to dig mass graves. In order to protect themselves from the local campaigners, ExxonMobil started paying soldiers to work as their private security. What was known as Exxon's Army resulted in a lawsuit filed by 11 civilians who claim Exxon was paying the Indonesian military $6 million a year to conduct torture and extrajudicial killings. The case is still in progress. 5. Walmart. Did you know that 111 Walmart employees were killed in a fire in unsafe conditions in 2012? Maybe you knew that Walmart employs underage people, or that Walmart pays off officials to keep all of this secret. Well, it's all true, with the caveat that these employees actually work in overseas factories where over 50% of Walmart stock comes from. The factory that burned down was in Bangladesh, and children that provided labour actually make up the majority of international workers. In Thailand, it was reported by The Guardian in 2014 that slaves were forced to work for years under threat of extreme violence. The production of Walmart shrimp was at the centre of the debacle, with the investigation describing large numbers of men bought and sold like animals and held against their will on fishing boats. Those who managed to escape the boats told of 20-hour shifts and execution-style killings. Bear that in mind next time you're making some gumbo. 4. Coca-Cola. It's no secret that sugary drinks are bad for you, But what Coca-Cola does keep quiet are the shady practices behind the production of the world's favourite soft drink. Investigative journalist Michael Blanding uncovered the water wars raging in India between local communities and Coca-Cola bottling plants, as well as a contamination of Indian Coke by pesticides. Blanding talks of at least 3 towns where water reserves have dried up shortly after Coca-Cola plants have opened. Water that is not only used for drinking, but also for raising food crops. Successful campaigning managed to get a plant in Kerala closed down in an unprecedented event. Today, Coca-Cola claims to be harvesting rainwater instead of depleting reserves, but Blanding says droughts make this impractical. So it amounts to lip service. Coca-Cola's position in India is strong and doesn't look to be changing anytime soon. 3. Nestlé. A report authored in 1974 by Mike Muller was called The Baby Killer and spoke of the horrors infants were experiencing in the less economically developed countries of Africa, Asia and Latin America. Babies were dying of malnutrition and diseases that were entirely avoidable. Why? Their mothers were using infant formula rather than breast milk, and Nestlé was behind this. The report talked of sales reps who were dressed up as nurses and sent into maternity wards to give out free baby formula. The International Baby Food Action Network claimed that the formula interfered with lactating, so when mothers left hospital, they could no longer breastfeed. Nestlé then started charging for the formula, but mothers couldn't afford it, and so their children went hungry. Furthermore, the formula had to be mixed with water and served in a feeding bottle, both of which could be easily contaminated and cause deadly infections. As a result of these deaths, a global movement boycotting Nestlé took hold and the company image has never really recovered. As a result of these deaths, a global movement boycotting Nestlé took hold and the company image has never really recovered. As a result of these deaths, a global movement boycotting Nestlé took hold.
Let me at 'em. They will regret opposing me.
Welcome to Summoner's Rift. First blood. 30 seconds until minions spawn. Minions have spawned.
Noxus will rise.
Has been slain.
I do not tolerate cowardice. I will not rest.
mountain we go.
Your team has destroyed a turret.
Orders.
Your team has destroyed a turret. Your team has destroyed a turret.
Carve a path.
Enemy killing spree. Legendary. An enemy has been slain. An enemy is dominating. Shut down. Enemy rampage.
I do not tolerate cowardice.
Shut down. Shut down.
Noxus will
Your team has destroyed a turret. Has been slain.
destination is clear.
An ally has been slain. An ally has been slain. Your turret has been destroyed. Your inhibitor has been destroyed.